Today, we're diving into a really fascinating framework from our source material that completely reimagines the world of birds. It asks us to look at them not just as animals, but as the living, breathing embodiment of a really powerful ancient symbol. Yeah, I know, it's a strange question, right? But believe it or not, that's the central mystery we're going to unpack. And the answer connects everything from ecology to physics to deep time in a way that might just change how you see every single bird out there. And this quote, right from the text, is the core idea. It's suggesting that the flight, the life, the very existence of a bird perfectly mirrors the symbol of a self-creating, self-consuming cycle. So what exactly is the Ouroboros? At its heart, it's all about a closed loop, where the output just becomes the input again. It's about endless cycles, self-sufficiency, and this beautiful idea that every ending is really just a new beginning. And as we're about to see, this pattern pops up absolutely everywhere in the world of birds. Okay, so to really get our heads around this big theory, let's start with something small and simple. We're going to look at a loop where one bird's little act of forgetfulness actually ends up shaping an entire forest. Now, what's so cool about this is how it's a perfect little closed system. The jay's action, bearing all those acorns, is what directly creates the food source for its great-great-grandkids. Its so-called flaw, its forgetfulness, is actually the engine that builds its own world. The end of the process, a lost acorn, becomes the beginning of a new one. That's the serpent eating its tail right there. All right, let's zoom way in now, from this huge forest ecosystem right down to the body of a single bird. And here, the Ouroboros isn't so much a cycle over time, but this constant, paradoxical battle that's happening every single second in the sky. If you've ever seen a kestrel just hanging there in the sky, looking totally motionless, you're actually witnessing a paradox. Because that stillness isn't rest at all. It's the result of a furious, non-stop effort. A perfect balance that's only achieved through constant motion. It's a battle against an invisible tyrant. And here is that battle. On one side, you've got gravity, this constant, unwavering force that just pulls everything down, the static tyrant. And on the other side, you have lift, this dynamic, constantly created force that the bird has to generate to escape. A bird literally lives its life in the middle of this perpetual war. So what's the resolution to this conflict? It's the wing. It is this incredibly elegant evolutionary masterpiece that doesn't defeat gravity, but instead uses the air to negotiate with it. And there's our Ouroboros again. Two opposing forces, gravity and lift, are unified into a single functional thing that creates the miracle of flight. Okay, so we've seen the loop in an ecosystem and inside a single bird. Now let's zoom back out again and look at how thousands of individual birds can somehow act like a single being. First, just wrap your head around the sheer scale. There are over 10,000 different species of birds on Earth. That's what the source text calls the multiplicity, just an incredible, staggering diversity of individuals. And yet, then you see this, a startling murmuration. And all those thousands of individual birds, they stop being individuals. They become one single fluid organism, a flowing, twisting entity in the sky. So how on earth does that happen? This is the crucial part. There's no leader. No one's giving orders. This incredible unity emerges from really simple rules, where each bird is just reacting to its immediate neighbors. The multiplicity of all the individuals creates the unity of the flock. It's another Ouroboros, a whole that is constantly being created by the interaction of its own parts. Now, let's take our final and biggest zoom out. We're going to look at the entire planet and start thinking about birds not just as creatures living on the world, but as a vital part of the world's machinery, like a winged heartbeat. The migration of the bar-tailed godwit is just one of the most extreme things in the entire animal kingdom. To get ready, it doubles its body weight in Alaska. Then it flies nonstop for 11,000 kilometers over the entire Pacific. And to survive, it literally performs an act of Ouroboros. The bird consumes its own digestive organs for fuel, and then just regrows them when it gets to New Zealand. It eats itself to complete the journey. So when you think about millions of birds doing things like this, you realize they're acting like a kind of planetary circulatory system. They're moving massive amounts of energy, nutrients, and seeds from one hemisphere to another, connecting whole ecosystems. They really are the planet's winged heartbeat. So we've seen this cycle on every scale imaginable, the forest, the body, the flock, the whole globe. And that brings us to our final section, where we find the one single ultimate symbol for this entire idea. So after all of this, the forests, the flight, the flocks, these epic global journeys, what one thing perfectly contains all of these ideas about cycles, paradoxes, and self-contained worlds? Of course, it's the egg. Simple, perfect, and the absolute embodiment of the Ouroboros. I mean, think about it. The egg is a perfect closed-loop life support system. It has everything a new life needs. It even resolves that same paradox of the static versus the dynamic, a hard, unmoving shell protecting this furiously developing embryo inside. And it carries the genetic memory of its ancient dinosaur ancestors. The beginning contains the end, and the end contains the beginning. And this leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. We tend to think the whole point of an egg is to make a bird. But if you look at it through the lens of the Ouroboros, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the entire complex, beautiful life of a bird, all of its flight, its song, its struggle, is simply the loop that life has to take to create the next perfect self-contained beginning. The serpent, once again, completes the circle.